Good evening. A manhunt is underway in Cottage country after 3 people were found dead near Bracebridge.
Police were called to a home just north of town after gunshots were heard Friday night. 1 man was found dead outside. 2 others were later found inside a home on fire. CTV's Luke Simard is following the story.
A quiet rural road 2 hours north of Toronto is the scene of a murder after 3 bodies were discovered on the property. The main police suspect who is responsible remains on the loose. Shortly after 8 Friday evening, OPP responded to reports of gunshots and an armed man in distress.
Once officers arrived, 1 person was located deceased outside the residence, and the residence was fully engulfed in flames.
Officers started looking for the suspected shooter, and a shelter in place was put into effect in the area.
A shelter in place was put in effect until approximately 1:45 a.m. that morning. Since then, Mitchell Gray, 29 years old of Bracebridge, is now wanted for murder. Further, the next day, as the investigation progressed, the residence itself, 2 deceased were located from inside the residence.
OPP confirming that suspect and deceased were known to each other, but have not said if they are related.
There are a lot of unknowns for sure. This is still a very active investigation, and we are looking into every possible scenarios.
Bracebridge Mayor Rick Maloney providing a statement to CTV News saying, "We appreciate the efforts of all our emergency services who responded to this tragic incident, especially our OPP. Our hearts and thoughts are with the family of the victims." The OPP say the investigation is still developing, but there is no threat to public safety. The OPP has not shared what information they have that leads them to believe that.
A police presence to continue, and what we are asking is if anybody knows the whereabouts of Mitchell Gray, to please contact the OPP at 1-888-310-1122 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.
Police are saying that a forensic autopsy could take some time to determine the identities and cause of death for the victims. Until then, police are assuming that Mitchell Gray is still out there and are looking for his whereabouts. Luke Simard, CTV News.
Now to Burleigh Falls, north of Peterborough, where there's been a tragedy in the water with 2 people pronounced dead.
2 men drowned at the falls in Stoney Lake.
After nearly 24 hours of search and rescue efforts along the shoreline of Stoney Lake, the OPP Underwater Search and Recovery Unit has recovered the bodies of 2 people who went missing Sunday evening. It was just before 5 p.m. when Peterborough County officers were called to Burleigh Falls for a potential drowning. Police say 2 people had been swimming in the area when one of them fell in from the shoreline and appeared to be in distress. OPP say others went into the water to help, resulting in a 2nd person missing. A 24-year-old male from Caledon and a 26-year-old male from Brampton have been pronounced dead. Burleigh Falls is around 35 kilometers north of Peterborough. Recent data shows a rise in drownings this year, and Ontario is seeing the biggest spike. According to the Life Saving Society of Ontario, at the end of July, there had been 57 drowning deaths in the province, compared to 49 by the same point last year. The names of the victims have not been made public.
There's been a rescue after a jet ski crash off Etobicoke in Lake Ontario.
2 people were rescued this afternoon. The pair were brought to shore after emergency crews responded to the Lakeshore and Park Lawn area. The Toronto Police Marine Unit located the 2 men offshore after a reported collision involving jet skis sometime before 3:30. One rider in his 30s was taken to hospital with a leg injury. The other was assessed on scene by medics. A dog is dead, and another had to be rescued after being left alone in a vehicle in the heat.
The incident happened in North Oshawa, and one of the animals had to be put down. CTV's Janice Golding reports.
Some regard their pets as part of the family.
They're like your children.
Which is why many people who live and work near Simcoe and Winchester and Oshawa are horrified today that 2 dogs were left in a hot car yesterday and one had to be put down due to heat stroke.
Makes me sick to my stomach that an animal has to suffer like that. Unfortunately, people don't think.
Durham Regional Police say it was around 4:40 p.m. yesterday that officers were called about 2 dogs in distress. Animals investigators say had been left in a hot vehicle for an extended period of time.
When officers attended the scene, they spoke to witnesses and were eventually led to a veterinarian clinic where we learned that one of the dogs had to be euthanized from the heat stroke.
The owner was arrested and charged with willfully causing unnecessary pain or suffering or injury to an animal. And with the hot weather continuing, police are issuing a reminder to the public.
People think that these dogs are fine. They think, oh, if I put the window a bit, they'll get some air in. But we're finding on these hot days, we don't even really have much of a breeze. So they're not getting the temperature control that they need.
According to experts, dogs have a limited ability to sweat, so even a short period of time in a hot environment can be deadly. In fact, heat stroke fatalities can occur in less than 15 minutes. And even if you're parked in a shady area, your car can reach dangerous temperatures quickly. Many animal lovers say people shouldn't need the reminder.
I could never do that to them. I don't even want to leave them in the car for like 10 minutes. I always bring them with me everywhere I go because it's way too hot in the summertime.
I feel terrible. I think that is a horrible thing that happened to the pet, and I think that there should be more education about it. I think that anyone who owns a pet should be conscious about how the heat can impact small animals.
It makes me very angry. I don't like hearing about dogs being in a car. Like, imagine leaving your kid in the car. It's the same thing, really.
Unfortunately, Mel Clatworthy, who has worked in the pet care industry for about 15 years, says it's all too common.
It's not shocking because we have seen several people leave their dogs in their car, and we do say something about it if we do see it, that it's too hot for their dog. They can bring them in the store.
Police say if you see a dog in a situation like this, you should call 911 immediately because these are emergency situations and there's little time to lose. Signs to look out for? Well, symptoms of heat stroke in a dog can include excessive drooling, panting, lethargy, vomiting, diarrhea, and collapse. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Well, if you've been outside today, you certainly noticed the smoky air quality. Toronto is currently ranked 9th among the most polluted major cities in the world. That is according to the Swiss air quality technology company IQ Air. This is looking west from the CN Tower over Humber Bay toward the South Etobicoke skyline. You can barely see the outline of the high-rises. A special air quality statement remains in effect for Toronto, which at one point was second on the world AQI ranking. Montreal is now 14th. Smoke from the wildfires out west is to blame. Environment Canada is reminding people that it is hazardous to be outside due to increased pollution in the air. The agency says these are some of the worst conditions it has seen throughout the long weekend.
The thing that is making things particularly bad right now is the fact that we have a ridge of high pressure, basically high pressure over the GTA and over most of the province. And what that does is it really traps any air. It keeps it stagnant. It doesn't allow for much movement to clear out and bring us new fresh air. And what we really need for that is a low pressure system. So showers, a cold front, thunderstorms even, but it doesn't look like we're likely to see much of that until maybe even next weekend.
Wildfire smoke can fluctuate over short distances and can vary considerably from hour to hour. As levels increase, health risks increase. People are advised to limit time outdoors and consider reducing or rescheduling outdoor activities.
We know about the long-term impacts of pollution in general, living in a very polluted city for years and years. What is the impact of these intermittent exposures? We're just starting to learn that. And the reality is that these used to be rare one-of events. And we are talking about it now multiple times a summer, every single summer. So we're starting to have to think about this as a chronic repeated exposure. And we're just learning what that's going to do. But it probably will have some level of impact, perhaps less severe, but similar types of impact as what we see with living in a very polluted city for a long period of time.
Those affected by the smoke may experience eye, nose, and throat irritation, headaches, or a mild cough. More serious but less common symptoms include wheezing, chest pains, or severe cough. Dr. Gupta says the tiniest of the smoke particles end up in the bloodstream.
Still to come, Toronto's Victoria Mboko is the last Canadian in competition at the National Bank Open, and she's playing tonight in the quarterfinals.
We'll bring you that story in a few minutes, but first, let's continue to talk about the smoke because it continues to be an issue throughout this long weekend, and it's going to continue to be a factor as we head into the work week. I want to bring in one of these boards. It's our drifting smoke board, so you can actually see just how much of the thick of it we are in right now because of the wildfire smoke in northern Ontario and west to the prairies. This is where we stand right now, but as the graphic continues to move, you'll see that smoke start to make its way north throughout the week. Now, by Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we do get some reprieve, but it is going to be severe over the next couple of days. The air quality health index that we talked about is currently at a 6. That's moderate risk. It's going to get worse tonight. We're going to get elevated into a high risk and then drop it down to 5, which is a moderate risk. Because of all the smoke, special air quality statements have been issued for several parts of southern Ontario. A few of the statements have dropped other parts of the province, but now there are still several areas where it is a factor. In terms of the satellite radar, no precipitation in the forecast. Conditions are clear other than the smoke. A quick look at the temperatures: 27 degrees in Hamilton, 28 up in Peterborough. In the GTA, still plenty of sunshine at the islands, feeling like 30. Tonight, our overnight low is 16 degrees. Coming up later in the newscast, we'll talk more about the UV index, as well as some potential pop-up showers tomorrow afternoon. Andrea.
Thanks, Raheem. Police are investigating after a person was stabbed today on a streetcar. It happened around 1:30 this afternoon near Broadview Avenue and Gerrard Street East. The female victim in her 30s was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Police say she initially left the scene and was located by officers a short time later in the Queen Street East and Monroe Street area. The suspect fled. He's about 40 years old with a slim build and was wearing a white T-shirt and black hat. A man in his 20s is in hospital following a shooting at a karaoke bar in North York.
Police were called to the bar in the area of Victoria Park in McNichol around 12:45 this morning. The shooting happened inside, and the victim was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. One man is wanted in connection with the shooting and fled before officers arrived. Police have described the suspect as being East Asian, 5'4" with a slim build. He's about 20 to 30 years old and was wearing dark clothing. Anyone with information is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. A man has been charged in connection with a murder investigation in Durham region.
The suspect was wanted on a Canada-wide warrant. The body of a 69-year-old woman was discovered inside a Pickering home following a fire on June 11th. 34-year-old Elson Coutinho was arrested on Friday and has been charged with second-degree murder. He was held for a bail hearing. Anyone with information about this incident is asked to contact police. Well, Toronto's Victoria Mboko beat #1 seed Coco Gauff in straight sets and continues to advance in play at the National Bank Open in Montreal.
The 18-year-old needed just over an hour to top her American opponent and is the last Canadian playing at the National Bank Open. The rising tennis star has made it to the quarterfinals with a dominating victory over Gauff on Saturday. Mboko beat Gauff 6-1, 6-4 in 62 minutes, and she will now take on Jessica Buzas-Maniero of Spain tonight. CTV's Anastasia Dextrine reports.
A tremendous recovery.
She's climbing the charts.
She's doing really well. That's very exciting.
And she's finding a place in Canadian hearts.
I was expecting Leila Fernandez, like everybody, and then I started following Victoria Mboko. And God, is she good at 18 years old?
Victoria Mboko has blasted through the WTA rankings. She's climbed from 350 at the beginning of the year to 85th this week after recovering from injuries.
What a great rally. Ended like that.
Mboko was born in North Carolina but moved to Toronto as a young child. She began excelling in tennis in the U14 circuit. Now 18, she began her 2025 season with an impressive streak. 22 consecutive wins that marked the most by a Canadian woman since 1994, when the International Tennis Federation began keeping score. And Tennis Canada's Valérie Tétrault says Mboko is one to watch.
There's some things that you can learn, obviously, as a tennis player, but in terms of, the champions that we see in tennis and in any sport, it always feels like, there's something special about them. And it needs to be in you, and I think she has that in her.
Mboko last matched against the American in Rome this year.
It's always great to play such incredible athletes and incredible players like her.
As for fans, they hope to see Mboko dominate the sport for years to come.
I think she'll be great.
Good luck, Victoria. Do it for all of us.
Anastasia Dextrine, CTV News.
Vicky Mboko, the stage is yours.
Indeed. A Canadian military aircraft dropped nearly 10,000 kilograms of aid to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip today. Mark Carney posted this photo of the relief supplies. The Prime Minister says the humanitarian disaster in Gaza is rapidly deteriorating. He added that Canada is intensifying efforts with international partners to develop a credible peace plan and will ensure aid moves forward at the necessary scale. Now, Global Affairs said today that Israel's ongoing aid restrictions are in violation of international law and must end immediately.
There are tributes today to fashion mogul and former Ontario Lieutenant Governor Hilary Weston, who has passed away. Weston's family announced her death in a statement without providing a cause. Hilary Weston was born in Ireland. She spent her early years as a fashion model and moved to Toronto in the 1970s with her husband, Galen Weston, a retail magnate who helped turn Loblaw into one of the largest food distributors in the country. In 1997, Hilary Weston became Ontario's Lieutenant Governor and held the role until 2002. She is survived by her 2 children. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is offering his condolences, sharing a statement saying Hilary Weston was a trailblazer and devoted public servant. Ford says Weston served Ontario her entire life, including as Lieutenant Governor, a philanthropist and business leader.
Popular 1980s actor Lonnie Anderson of the hit TV series WKRP in Cincinnati has died.
Any calls?
No.
Messages?
Nope.
Mail?
None.
Okay. How about lunch?
No lunch either.
Dinner?
Busy.
Okay. How about later at my place?
You're married, Herb.
Anderson's publicist says Anderson passed away at a Los Angeles hospital after battling a prolonged illness. She earned 2 Emmy Awards and 3 Golden Globe nominations for her role as the savvy receptionist on 4 seasons of the sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati. Anderson went on to appear in dozens of movies, including the 1983 film Stroker Ace, where she met and married Burt Reynolds, who she would later divorce in the mid-90s. Lonnie Anderson was 79, almost 80, just a few days away. Now to Wasaga Beach and concerns being raised by some environmental groups.
The concerns come in the wake of a proposal to transfer some of the beach's provincial parkland to the municipality of Wasaga Beach. According to Wasaga Beach Mayor Brian Smith, the Ford government is considering transferring less than 60 hectares of land back to the town, in a move he says would allow it to create an iconic all-seasons destination. Smith says roughly half of the proposed land, including beach and environmentally sensitive dunes, would be preserved. He says the other half of the land would be reimagined, and talks are already underway with conservation organizations. But Environmental Defense says it's an environmentally sensitive area, and the proposal could open the door to other land transfers.
In addition to removing lands from the park that they've announced, they're also planning to make changes to the Parks Act, which we assume, because we have not seen the wording yet, to make it easier to remove lands from all provincial parks. So it's both the specifics of removing this very sensitive beach area from a provincial park, the most visited provincial park in the province many years, as well as making it easier to do this for all the rest of our parks across the province.
A statement from a spokesperson for the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks says the claims are categorically false and there will be no changes to the Provincial Parks and Conservation Reserves Act beyond those being considered in the Environmental Registry of Ontario posting. Now to the Toronto Blue Jays with the team in Colorado tonight after a rare home game loss.
The Jays were looking for the series win against the Kansas City Royals yesterday.
To right center, a base hit. And 2 runs are in to score.
With the game tied up at 2, this one needed extra innings where the Royals pulled in front of the 10th. The Jays were unable to come back, losing 7-4. The team will now begin that West Coast road trip, and that, as we said, is with the Colorado Rockies tonight.
And over the glove from the line, the 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Goes to the changeup inside, and it's back-to-back punch-outs for Shane Bieber.
Meantime, in Buffalo, Shane Bieber has made his first rehab start with the Jays organization. The 30-year-old right-hander threw 62 pitches and 5 innings for the AAA Bisons yesterday. He surrendered 2 runs on 5 hits with a walk and 5 strikeouts. Bieber says he felt great and is excited about where he's at in the recovery process after having Tommy John surgery in April of 2024. The Blue Jays acquired Bieber from Cleveland in a trade last week. I keep thinking Justin Bieber, but it's not Justin Bieber. Toronto teen Summer McIntosh made a major splash at the World Aquatics Championships over the long weekend. She's the second woman in history to win 4 golds at a single championship.
While Canada can celebrate the success, the world-class performance is also drawing attention to whether there are enough pools to support more young athletes. CTV's Kamal Kurmali reports.
This is a summer to remember.
This is Canadian swimming history being made.
Summer McIntosh does it again.
Toronto's Summer McIntosh breaking her own championship record to win her 4th gold medal at the World Aquatic Championships in Singapore.
Summer McIntosh with a big lead.
With her supporters cheering her on half a world away.
It's the most impressive showing of any Canadian woman athlete.
And inspiring a new generation of swimmers across Canada.
I want to be a swimmer because it's my favorite hobby.
Daniela Rashad hoping to take the leap into professional swimming. For her, there's just one problem.
I wish we had an indoor pool in our building.
So you're not getting enough pool time.
Yeah.
Even now, swim clubs and sports groups across the country are highlighting a shortage of pools and facilities to train athletes to help them become the next Summer McIntosh.
I would say we're in the middle of an infrastructure crisis when it comes to pools.
Across Canada, there are a total of 70 indoor pools that are 50 meters. Although they're Olympic-sized in length, many don't have the 10 lanes Olympic pools require, and more than half were built over 25 years ago. In Vancouver, one of only 2 Olympic-sized pools in the city has been falling apart. So the city's park board has made plans to replace it, but with a pool half its size, citing financial issues.
Not even at the competitive level, but at the learning to swim level, there just simply isn't enough space in a 25-meter pool to provide adequate programming.
Swimming Canada hoping to rally all levels of government to the cause to create more swimming facilities, not just for athletes, but for all Canadians to avoid drowning deaths.
The only way you're going to help alleviate that is have more lifeguards, have more learn to swim.
Believing it could not only save lives, but perhaps bring in a new wave of Canadian gold medal swimmers. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
I'm Pat Four, and coming up on Consumer Alert, there is still lots of summer left, but some students getting ready for high school, college, or university may need a new laptop. Computers have been improving steadily, but there are price concerns due to the tariff situation. We have some shopping advice. That story is just ahead.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, I hate to say it, but now is about the time that people start thinking about heading back to school.
It's too soon. And if you've got a child in senior grade or heading to college, university, and in the market for a laptop, CTV's Pat Ford has some advice for you.
Computers have improved so much over the years that even the most basic models will be able to handle most of what students need to do. But there are big price differences depending on what you want to buy. Consumer Reports has their best picks for any laptop budget. Whether you're heading off to high school, college, or university, the right laptop can make your school year, and timing your purchase could save you hundreds of dollars.
We tell folks that if they have the money now to buy the laptop now, because there is a very good chance that prices could rise pretty dramatically.
For bigger budgets, the latest 15-inch Apple MacBook Air ranks near the top of the laptop ratings for performance and reliability. To score one for less, choose a smaller model or one that's a few years old. Prefer a PC with Windows? This lightweight LG Gram offers great portability and battery life. And if you're looking to save a few bucks,
maybe you find one that's a year or two older, which is still going to be a very good laptop. You could probably find that for less than the current year model.
If you want the latest tech, the HP OmniBook Ultra is a powerful AI PC designed to run AI apps on the laptop itself instead of online. And although it's pricey, there are ways to save.
Generally speaking, don't just buy it from the first store that happens to have it. Take your time, give it a couple days and shop around at different stores, and it is very likely you'll be able to find a better price somewhere else.
And if you want to get the biggest bang for a small budget, this lightweight Lenovo Chromebook weighs next to nothing and delivers 19 hours of battery life. Another smart option, refurbished laptops sold directly from Apple, Dell, HP, and other trusted brands. They go through full inspections and often include a 1-year warranty. And if you're a student looking for a laptop, don't forget to mention that. Many companies offer student discounts. Apple, Dell, HP, and some stores offer student pricing, sometimes with extra perks like gift cards or accessories. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
We were just joking that Raheem remembers getting a laptop when he was in school, and when I was in school, they didn't have laptops. They weren't invented yet.
So it was notepad and paper.
Yes.
Note taking must have been like hard. Like, how do you keep up with the slides and the stuff? Or
I didn't really keep up. That's why I'm in journalism, folks. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I was about to say, we're in the same spot no matter what.
It wasn't going to be math or sciences or anything.
No, me
STEM
neither.
was not going to be for, I guess they call it STEAM now. But it's, so you can imagine how excited kids would be.
And now they're doing AI. You heard one of the things where AI, they can probably do the note taking for you. I know, eh? What a world.
I know.
Let's talk about the weather. Temperatures, it is comfortable. However, the conditions are certainly smoky and hazy. Right now in the city of Toronto, 27 degrees, a touch of humidity, feeling like 29, feeling like 30 in Kingston. Our overnight lows are right on pace in terms of normal. For Toronto, 16 degrees, normal is 17 for this time of year. As we wake up tomorrow, plenty of sunshine. By 9 a.m., it'll be 22 degrees. But as I've talked about earlier, we are going to be dealing with the smoke, and that's going to continue to be a factor for most of the work week. The UV index tomorrow, we are in the very high range. Everyone is at an 8 except for our friends in Windsor. They are at a 9, so certainly monitor and be mindful and limit your time outdoors and make sure to stay hydrated. Tomorrow's highs in London, 29 degrees, feeling like 33. Parry Sound, 29, feeling like 34. And a touch warmer in Kingston, feeling like 35. This is your forecast radar as we make our way to tomorrow afternoon at around 3 o'clock. This is where we could see some pop-up showers, not necessarily in the downtown core, but in and around there, Niagara Falls, London, and up in Owen Sound. As we continue to move forward to Wednesday evening, again, around that Owen Sound, Bancroft, and even Kingston, there could be some pop-up showers. Something to be mindful of. It's not going to be a washout by any means necessary. We've talked about the heat. Right now, it's quite comfortable, but take a look at this upper air pattern. Those deep reds, that is the very hot and sticky temperatures. And as we continue to make our way later into the week, into next week, that is when you see that it starts to get uncomfortable. And we'll show you that right now as we get into the 7-day forecast. We've talked about Tuesday. Wednesday, there's a 30% chance of showers. For the most of the week, plenty of sunshine and everything's looking pretty good. Low 30s, feeling like 34, 35 by Thursday, Friday. Those overnight lows, not bad at 19 degrees, but as we get into next weekend, the humidity was going to make it feel like 37. It's going to feel like 39 next Monday, and even those overnight lows at 21, 23s, those are not great sleeping temperatures if you don't have air conditioning, so something to be mindful of. And again, next week, there could also be a 40% chance of showers. So the smoke is a factor for the next couple of days, and then we get into those really sticky conditions. Andrea.
Thanks, Raheem. The Toronto Food Truck Festival continued today at Woodbine Park. The festival features more than 20 food trucks to choose from with something for everyone. There's halal, vegetarian, gluten-free options available. The Toronto Food Truck Festival wraps up tonight at 8 p.m. And the Scarborough Rib Fest is back for its 24th year at Thompson Park. In addition to the mouth-watering ribs offered by 9 different vendors, there are also rides, live music, and even a contest to determine who has the best ribs. That also runs until 8 p.m.
Still to come, some new research on what may help people trying to learn math. Hey, Andrea, you should watch this.
I will.
CTV Science and Tech Specialist Dan Riskin will be joining us.
Never too late. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Pat Foran has kicked off our back-to-school coverage this hour with tips on buying a laptop. And CTV Science and Tech Specialist Dan Riskin is going to chime in on learning with some research on what helps when it comes to learning math. Now, Dan, I don't know if you were listening earlier, but Raheem and I were joking about the fact that wasn't my strongest subject. So if I'm understanding you correctly, that scientists are literally mapping people's brains with electricity to help them learn math. Is this true?
Yeah, they're zapping their brains with electricity. This is the worst idea I've ever heard from a PR perspective. Like, people are already scared of math, and now scientists are like, don't worry, now we're just going to zap your brain while you do math. It'll be way better. But they did this experiment where they had people wear these helmets. And when I say zap the brain, I'm being funny. It's actually a very, very low stimulus. And in fact, the people who were in the treatment group that were actually getting the zaps couldn't tell whether they were actually in the control group that didn't get zapped at all. You barely feel it at all. But when people wear these helmets and they are zapping compared to people who are wearing the helmet and it's not zapping, some people do a little bit better in the math. The ones that are really strong don't really get a change, but the ones who were weakest at math start to get up around average. And so there's apparently something to this where maybe we can understand better how the brain is having difficulty with these issues and maybe come up with some other solutions. But I can't help but think that asking people to wear brain zapping helmets when they do their math is not going to solve the problem anytime soon.
Wow, I'm with you on that one. Well, a new study suggests people walk 15% faster in cities than they did in the 80s, and they also tend to linger less. What's that all about?
Yeah, somebody was interested in how cities work, and they took a bunch of video of just like public squares in Boston and Philadelphia and New York in the 1980s, and recorded all these videos. And then 30 years later, somebody said, you know what, it'd be really cool to do a comparison data set. And so they just made recordings in the same places at the same time of day, basically same time of year. And then they had artificial intelligence just measure what was different. And it turns out people are moving about 15% faster through those places, and they're not lingering the way they used to. You find 14% fewer people stopping to sort of just check things out. They're on their way somewhere. And so it's a bit of a mystery why things have sped up. For me, you know, it feels like the pace of life is faster, and I feel very validated by this because it's not just me getting slower. It turns out the world is getting faster. But it is an interesting question, and a lot of the researchers believe that it has to do with our use of cell phones. You know, if I have to meet you on the steps of a museum,
yes,
and in the old days we had to sort of phone each other and say, okay, I'll see you around 2 o'clock. Around 2 o'clock, I'm walking slowly, I'm looking around, I'm looking for your face, I'm trying to find you. But now I send you a text and I know exactly where to find you because you sent me a text 30 seconds ago and told me to go over to this particular spot. And so maybe that's part of the reason people aren't lingering the way they used to.
Take time and smell the roses. Okay, and finally, Dan, you found a secret to making your voice audible over loud noise. Talk like Dolly Parton. I'm all in. Tell me more.
Yes, talk like Dolly Parton. This is awesome. So they had people record their voices talking normally and then talking with a twang. And so the way they describe the twang, it's interesting because the press has sort of picked up on this Dolly Parton angle, but in the paper they say, you know, picture talking like the Wicked Witch of the West or like a kid saying, yeah, 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 like that high-pitched kind of thing. That's not a Dolly Parton impression, by the way. I would never talk ill of Dolly Parton. I think she's a saint. But if you have that affect to your voice like Dolly Parton has, it does carry better over sound. People can understand more words. They feel like it's easier to understand, and that's without being any louder. It's at the same volume. So maybe the roots of Dolly Parton's style of talking have to do with her being heard over her instruments when she's singing. But if you're in a crowded bar and it's hard for people to hear you, bust out your best Dolly Parton impression and see how that goes.
You know, Dan, I met Dolly Parton once, and she's magic, so I totally get that. CTV Science and Tech Specialist Dan Riskin, thank you for joining us, Dan.
A pleasure. Take care.
Well, it's been a fantastic long weekend at the box office for Marvel's latest superhero movie.
Famous around the world, please welcome the Fantastic Four.
The Fantastic Four First Steps found its way to the top spot for the second straight week. It brought in an estimated $40 million U.S. across North America. The Bad Guys 2 took second spot with nearly $22 million in sales. And rounding out the box office was The Naked Gun, which earned $17 million in sales. Backed by popular demand, the retelling of one of literature's popular love stories returns to Toronto.
Pride and Prejudice, sort of entertaining audience with its timeless themes and narrative style. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice was written in 1813.
Say I'm gonna live 1,000 times a day.
Pride and Prejudice, sort of, in 2018. It's a retelling of the iconic love story featuring a string of pop classics written by Isabel MacArthur. It premiered in Scotland and went on to win the Laurence Olivier Award in the UK for Best Comedy.
The show it was such a success when it was first written, and it's gone on to do such amazing things. And so the blueprint of how it works and what it does is really very clear. And so we were given lots of flexibility to play and find our own sort of voice within the piece.
The cast of 5 women play all roles, male and female.
There's times when Rihanna plays Mr. Darcy, and I literally don't see her as a woman at all. I couldn't possibly imagine her being her. It's just Mr. Darcy, and she's so skillful at becoming everyone is with the men that they become in the piece, and you sort of lose yourself in the story.
Neither actors Rhianna McGreevy nor Naomi Preston Lowe had seen the show before they auditioned for it.
I'd heard a lot about the show. I hadn't actually seen it. None of us in the cast had seen it before we got to be in it. And I think it always has there's a lot of differences between each time it comes on the road, because people have different instruments that they play and things that they bring to the piece itself. So it was very interesting to see what we created as our group of people.
The show was a hit when it played last year and is back for a limited engagement.
There's so much that's surprisingly relatable about Pride and Prejudice, and I think that's the joy that we've sort of mined in our piece of work here, is that, you know, trying to get that story to appeal to a modern audience is actually not that difficult to do.
While both actresses are enjoying this run, they have other credits. McGreevy co-stars in The Witcher, and right out of drama school, Preston landed a small role in Bridgerton.
Just the expertise of everyone that was on that set was extraordinary, and I got to learn so much, and that's all that you need when you're coming out of drama school for the first time. I was so nervous, and I didn't really know the etiquette.
As for Pride and Prejudice, sort of.
It's an amazing, fun night out, and whether you love Jane Austen or whether you don't know any of her work at all, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And we'd like to leave the audience with, you know, big smiles on their face at the end. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun for us to do, and it's a lot of fun for the audience. It feels like a big party at the end of the show.
Pride and Prejudice, sort of, is on stage now at the Ed Mirvish Theatre until August 17th.
American pop star Chappell Roan is creating quite the buzz in Saskatchewan.
CTV's Allison Bamford reports on the high hopes that a breakup ballad will help the province.
Not everyone knows where it is or even how to pronounce it.
It's not really a well-known place.
So when American pop singer Chappell Roan sang about moving to Saskatchewan following a breakup in her newest single, fans here couldn't believe it.
I thought it was cool because I love Chappell Roan so much. I kind of just thought that it was crazy. I'm moving to Saskatchewan.
Chappell first performed the song titled The Subway live last summer, but the lyrics gained traction late last month when this teaser video produced by a Regina-based company went viral.
We really wanted to show off Saskatchewan and make sure that we find and get footage that we feel like represents our province.
Google searches for Saskatchewan are up, and more people are mentioning the province on social media. Trends tourism Saskatchewan is hoping to capitalize on.
We don't know if it's going to translate into more visitation, but anything that brings more profile and attention to the province is always a good thing.
The queer singer is also getting a warm welcome from members of Saskatchewan's 2S LGBTQ+ community. The province's first openly gay MLA penned a letter to Chappell's team pitching a collaboration on an act of joyful queer resistance in the province that offers an unapologetic middle finger to bigotry.
We want to see queer and trans youth affirmed and supported in schools, and I think Chappell's voice might be able to lend a little bit of weight behind that.
And there's hope the singer might take up the offer to at least visit the province, saying this in an interview with celebrity journalist Nardwar in December.
I can't sing a song about Saskatchewan and not go there and play a show.
There are no Canadian tour dates yet, but fans hope it's a promise she keeps. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
If anybody knows the whereabouts of Mitchell Gray, to please contact the OPP at 1-888-310-1122 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.
Updating our top stories, a manhunt is underway in Cottage country for a 29-year-old murder suspect after 3 people were found dead inside a Bracebridge home. Police say the victims and the suspect were known to each other but couldn't confirm their relationships.
People think that these dogs are fine. They think, oh, if I put the window a bit, they'll get some air in. But we're finding on these hot days, we don't even really have much of a breeze. So they're not getting the temperature control that they need.
A dog is dead and another had to be rescued after being left alone in a vehicle in Oshawa. The owner now charged with willfully causing unnecessary pain or suffering to an animal.
I think she'll be great.
Good luck, Victoria. Do it for all of us.
And teen tennis phenom Victoria Mboko will look to advance to her first WTA semifinal at the National Bank Open in Montreal tonight. The 18-year-old from Toronto is taking on Jessica Buzas-Minero of Spain in her quarterfinal match after beating #1 seed Coco Gauff.
Remember to keep up to date day and night on ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know. Well, days after the deadline to get a trade deal done, the Prime Minister and those at the negotiating table couldn't be more clear.
Their focus is on what is happening inside our borders, instead of finding a way to smooth tensions across them. CTV's Colton Prale has more on Mark Carney's Canada-centric priorities.
Ottawa's message since the deadline for a trade deal with the United States has been clear. An agreement with Donald Trump isn't the top priority. In a statement, Canada's U.S. Trade Minister says Ottawa's next step is reinforcing the economy, adding Canada will take the requisite measures with the U.S. at the appropriate time.
Whatever we do, whatever the government decides to adopt, let's make sure that it's pragmatically going to work with the business needs of the moment.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says improving infrastructure will be vital. More than a third of its members are shifting to Canadian markets and suppliers, while a quarter are looking into international markets other than the U.S.
If we don't have the necessary infrastructure that would help keep costs stable or competitive, businesses would be kind of stuck.
It comes as the United States is continuing to negotiate trade deals with other countries while threatening new higher tariffs on India.
I'm not looking for leverage, I'm looking for fairness.
Today, top economists at Scotiabank joining those arguing that while Canada may suffer under tariffs without a deal, it's better than agreeing to a bad one.
Well, we're going to have damage. I mean, we're damaged already. I mean, partly, by the way, we're going to be damaged by the downfall of the U.S. economy. You can see all the signs that it's tanking.
Canada's U.S. Trade Minister says recent meetings in Washington were cordial and constructive, and he remains optimistic that a deal can be done. Meanwhile, the country's finance and foreign affairs ministers are both headed to Mexico this week to meet with President Claudia Sheinbaum. Colton Prale, CTV News, Ottawa.
President Donald Trump is defending his decision to fire the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner in the fallout of a weaker than expected U.S. jobs report.
We'll be announcing a new statistician sometime over the next 3-4 days. We had no confidence. I mean, the numbers were ridiculous, what she announced, but that was just one negative number. All of the numbers seem to be great.
Trump's administration has been facing growing criticism over the move, as critics say it undermines the public's interest in federal agencies. There are calls for Congress to investigate the commissioner's removal.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Coming up, get ready for the robot games.
Tonight, the revolutionary surgical procedure helping a BC woman regain her sight.
I'm starting to be able to see people's features, facial features.
How a tooth let her see her partner for the first time. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to all of our friends listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Hello. Like so many places, Spain is going through a heat wave, but some dog owners have found a way to beat the heat. What better way to cool off than at a canine water park? Some dogs are getting their first experience in the water, while others are having a familiar splash around. And this works well for the owners, too. They also get a chance to get into the water, staying cool while having fun with their furry friends.
Robot teams are preparing for the first ever World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing. 30 robot teams from countries around the world have registered to play in the soccer tournament at the games that begin on August 14th. Today, the robots faced off in fully autonomous 5-on-5 soccer matches powered entirely by artificial intelligence. The robots are equipped with advanced visual sensors, which allow them to identify the ball and navigate the field. They were also designed to stand up on their own after falling. Well, before we go, let's take one more look at the forecast. Let's show you that 7-day forecast, shall we? Tomorrow, it's going to be a hot, humid, and smoky day, and that's going to be the condition similar for much of the week, feeling like 34 tomorrow. A lot of the wildfire smoke continuing to affect us here in the city of Toronto. Similar conditions for most of the week, and then looking ahead to next weekend, things really start to look uncomfortable, feeling like 37, feeling like 39 next Monday. However, that still is a ways away. Andrea.
I'll be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for the CTV National News, followed by myself with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CB24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching. Have a good night. I'm Andrea Case.
And I'm Raheem Ladani. Take care.
Good night.